new faces for me, so it's pleasant to see.
Yeah,
and some similar faces as well. Thank you for being here. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about Bach Flower Therapy. I'm sure some of us already are practitioners here, or have dealt with it. Acupressure.
I'm fresher.
Fresher.
मुझे कुछ भी नहीं पता
Okay.
है क्यूरियोसिटी है इसलिए मैं आ जाता लाइक है
अच्छा यहाँ पे देखो बिगिनिंग समझा
Okay. Anyone who's used or received Bach Flower?
heard about it.
Heard about it. Okay. Okay. We usually pronounce it as Bach Flower. Originally, it was, in England, it's known as Bach Flower. Edward Bach was the doctor who discovered this. Somehow, the name Bach is.
What is that flower like?
It's a set of 38 flowers. 38 flowers, different flowers. So the whole system is called Bach Flower Therapy. So the idea of Bach Flower Therapy was floated by Dr. Edward Bach. Edward Bach was born in England in 1886, if I remember right. He passed away in 1936, so we're talking of a long way back, and the therapy system has survived for over 80 years now.
It's tough time.
It has. It is still treated as an alternative therapy, though if you look at most medical literature, a lot of research reports would still attribute placebo effect to it and not really talk of the medicinal value of it, because it's the level at which it works is difficult to prove. Now there's a lot of work that's being done through Kirlian photography, through MRI machines to understand how and why exactly does the therapy works. But yeah, till now it's still regarded as alternative therapy, the way Reiki or other mechanisms would be regarded as. So today's agenda is simply to understand where it came from, how it originated, and only to look at one set of remedies, which is the emergency combination remedy, popularly called as the rescue remedy. So, because the Bach Flower Therapy, the system as a whole contains 38 flowers, and there's no point in talking of 38 flowers all at once, you'll only get muddled in our minds. So I thought I'll break up the topic into several sessions. So today we are only looking at the introductory part of it. So just to give you a brief on how it started, Edward Bach was a physician, like a normal physician. He was also trained in homeopathy, and because those days there was no distinction between the allopathic and the homeopathic side of things, so doctors could practice whatever they were trained in and believed in. So he was a general physician, he was a homeopath, in terms of his medical research, he was a bacteriologist. He specialized in the bacterial, the bacteria in the immune system and how it works, and bacterial diseases. So that's where he came from, and then 1917 somewhere he was diagnosed with a tumor, and he was told that you've got only 3 months to live. A malignant tumor in the spleen, and he was, although they somehow managed to remove the tumor, he was told that it's spread across already and there's nothing that can be done about it. And at that point he turned into spirituality, and he tried to research alternative mediums. He was very intrigued by the thing about homeopathy, where ultimately in the medicine there's just the vibration of the drug and not the actual drug. That's how homeopathy works, right? When you look at the sugar pills or the homeopathic medicines, there is not much chemical content in there, it's really negligible. So he started researching a lot more on that principle and started self-healing. And 1917 was when the tumor happened. He survived till 1936. So, and he survived well, it's not that he lived in a bad way. So after the whole tumor episode, he worked a lot in terms of alternative therapy. How is it that plants can contribute in terms of natural healing, herbal healing. In 1930 was when he decided to work on the idea of flowers as a healing mechanism. The principle being that he said that pretty much till that point in time, almost all other parts of plants were being used for healing. If you look at homeopathy or other alternative medicines, the root of the plants, the bark, leaves, all of those are used for healing. Flowers were never used. And his thought process was, why is it that flowers can't be used? There should also be, given that ultimate output of a plant is the flower, that should also contain all the properties of the plant. So he worked on that premise. So 1930 he spent an entire summer researching on flowers. Now in this case he deliberately didn't use the scientific research methodology that he would have normally used. Before that, before 1930, he was very well known for his bacterial research in what's called the Bach nosodes. That's pure bacteriology. Typical scientific research. Now, here he moved and said, okay, the scientific part aside, there is more to the human body than just the scientific part of the medicine, so we need to explore more. So he spent one summer where he was literally in an orchard kind of a space where there were a lot of trees and flowers. And every time he would feel an emotion which he thought was uncomfortable or negative, he would go around the plants and then place his hands around flowers, and whichever flower gave him relief from that particular emotion, he attributed that healing property to that flower. So it was done in a very intuitive way. There was no scientific basis where he was sitting with test tubes or anything of that sort. He used his own intuition to figure out what kind of, how flowers can be used. So at the end of the process, he derived a set of 38 different flowers. Okay, and if you look at most of the flowers, because he was based out of England, most of the flowers are the ones that are grown in England. You find a lot of them grown in other parts of the world as well. India as well grows some of those flowers, not all of them, but yeah, some of them. So the way he decided to say, all right, 38 flowers and that's it, is that he said that, yeah, there are millions of different types of plants and flowers. However, not all of them fall in the human spectrum, which means the human body can take only certain vibrations. If you take certain other flowers, it will not really work well with the human body. It will either not work at all, or it might have an impact which we don't really want. So he decided that there are only certain flowers in the human spectrum, and he derived a range of emotions, and he said that practically all human emotions can be dealt with these 38 flowers. Now, how are these remedies made? Originally, Bach used to collect dewdrops from the flowers. The principle being that he said that when the morning sunlight passes through the water that's collected on the flowers at night, the energy of the flower is transferred onto the water, the dew. So he would literally collect dewdrops. He would mix the dewdrops with an equal portion of brandy, medicinal alcohol, so that it gets preserved, and then that would be used as a mother tincture, as the remedy. Later on, as he progressed, and initially he worked on himself with the Bach flowers therapy, then he started giving it to other patients, and he used to do it for free. And then he realized that, you know, just with dewdrops you can't really manage a quantity of production. So then he devised alternative means. So what is now popularly followed is flowers are collected and they are put in a bowl of spring water, and that spring water is exposed to sunlight for a day, and then the flowers are taken out and the water is treated as a remedy. The water is mixed with alcohol, and that's the mother tincture, that's the remedy.
What was the rationale of mixing it with alcohol?
So that it's preserved.
Preserved.
Alcohol is actually a preservative.
Preservative.
Yeah. So that's how flowers are made now, where flowers are put in a vat of spring water and then it's taken out. In areas where there is no sunlight, Bach said, and that's again practiced now, is where there's absolutely no sunlight. If you're producing flowers, then you boil the water, and then the energy gets transferred through the heat, and then that's used as the remedy. His argument there was in that trust, the way he said the flowers should be used, the water should be collected. It has an impact in terms of the earth element, because the flower is getting generated from the earth, the water, which forms the basis for holding the remedy, holding the vibration of it, the sunlight, which is the fire element, and the exposure to air, which is the water element. So his idea was that all elements should combine to make a healing essence. So that's how the whole process of remedies was found. So the whole background of remedies. Today, if you look at it, it's produced largely in the UK. Bach Flower Remedies are produced in the UK, to some degree in the US. In India, there is some bit of production, not really as much. Now people are looking a lot into it because there are a lot of flowers which we now realize are being grown in the northern belt near Haryana, Himachal, that belt. You find a lot of these flowers being grown. There's also, if I'm not wrong, there's a company in Mangalore which produces. So yeah, so they also do some bit of production, but it's expanding slowly in India. It's not. A lot of the flowers are not native to India, so it's not. So that's in terms of the background to how and why it worked. Now, how does Bach flower therapy work? It is not so much a physical healing mechanism as a mental and emotional healing mechanism. Bach's principle was that, and this came from, he tried to connect his studies in bacteriology to Bach flower therapy and said that the presence of certain bacteria in the atmosphere or let's say in a person's system, it causes diseases in some people, but it doesn't cause the same disease in some other people. Right? So you're exposed to the same kind of bacteria, same environment, same lack of hygiene, but some people get ill, some don't.
Is it because of the each individual having a different
immune system? Yeah, immune system. And he also argued that how does that immune system get formed is because of your personality. So therefore,
resistance powers also.
Yeah, the resistance, the willpower, the intention to heal.
Yeah.
So when he devised Bach flower therapy, his argument was that heal the personality which causes the disease will heal by itself. So
repeat again. The last sentence. Repeat again.
he said heal the personality which causes the disease.
Like homeopathy.
Yeah, very similar to homeopathy. However, the Bach flowers, it's a little different from homeopathy in the sense it doesn't really follow the principle of successive dilution, which homeopathy does. The homeopathy has a very clear measuring mechanism, metric mechanism in terms of so many ml or so much of amount of chemical in the medicine. Here, it's far more liberal and it's far more intuitive. And at the same time, yeah, this doesn't go into the very rigid scales of measurement which homeopathy does. So yeah, it is slightly unlike homeopathy, but similar in terms of the vibration principle, that there's no actual content of medicine in what you take, but the vibration of the flower. So how do these work is depending upon the nature of the flower, which will also depend on the nature of the plant and where it grows. The personality of the flower is what is used to heal the personality factor of the person. For example, if I have to take up one of these flowers, which is willow. Okay, the willow tree is also grown in the North Kashmir. That's you find willow trees. The wood is used for cricket bats. That's what willow is famous for in India. So the willow tree flower, it's a small little flower that's pronounced there. If you look at the personality of the plant, willow is a very drooping plant. It's never upright. The leaves are never standing up and about it's not strong kind of branches. It's always droopy, sad kind of a look that it has. Even the flowers are like that. They always look down. Right? So willow typically is a remedy that is used to heal a person who's feeling down, feeling sad, doesn't have much hope.
Depressing type of personality?
You can say that someone who's feeling very aloof, depressed, sad, lonely, not so much loneliness, but yeah, certainly sad. So that's how the corroboration works. That you look at the personality of the flower, you look at the personality of the human being, the person, and you corroborate and work on it. So there is a physical element in the sense that eventually he and then Dr. Kramer produced what are called body maps, where they actually mapped which part of the body does which flower corresponds to. So let's say if I have an ache here in this particular part of the body, what do I apply, which flower do I apply as compared to an ache here on the left hand side of it. Right? So they have made corresponding body maps. But at the same time, it's important to remember that even a apply remedies in a certain physical part, the effect is first on the mental and the emotional part, and then the physical healing occurs through it. And that's the principle on which it works. So if you're using Bach Flower therapy for yourself or for anybody else, it's important to keep the emotions in mind and constantly have a dialogue either with the person or with yourself about how are you feeling as you're surrounded by the remedies and as you're taking them.
Feedback.
Yeah, in terms of what is the shift in emotion as you're taking it. Now, how do you take it is literally a very few, extremely diluted thing. Normal, average thing that is normally spoken about is about 4 drops of the tincture in 30 ml of water. Or if you're using an original, for example, this is a 5-flower original thing. Original in the sense it's less diluted than the tincture. So this you dilute even further. So you just 1 or 2 drops in a glass of water and you're good. So that's the dilution.
On that time.
You can, it's just that some people don't like the taste of alcohol. It's a medicinal alcohol, so it gives that very pungent kind of a thing. There's no harm if you take it. It's okay. Or even if you apply it directly, it's fine. But most people prefer the watered form. Also the watered form because it's not so much the quantity of the remedy but the frequency with which you take it which causes the impact. So it's better that you take it in the diluted form. And from a very practical point of view, most remedies in India are imported, it's expensive, so you may as well use the diluted form. So that's how it works. So I'll come to the emergency combination and then go back to how do you administer the remedies. But as we do that, it's helpful to understand that these are very safe for even a non-medical person to use on oneself or another. Things don't go wrong. It's just that it helps to definitely study before you take it because it causes emotional shifts which you need to be ready for and be able to handle. So if you don't want to cause certain shifts, it's better that you don't take certain remedies. So as I said, the total number of remedies is 38. Okay, each of them has a different there's a different emotion mapped to each of it, and there is a different use, physical and mental use mapped to each of the remedies. What is popularly called as rescue remedy or emergency combination remedy is a combination of 5 flowers, 5 of those 38 flowers, which Dr. Bach himself said that it's something that you can use in a crisis or in an emergency where you don't have time to really figure out what to use and what's happened and what to mix. When you don't have that time, that's when you use the rescue remedy. Rescue now is a trademark name. Different companies sell it by different names, but popularly it's called rescue remedy. So you've got 5 components there. I'll talk about those 5 flowers to begin with today, and then we can carry it on further. So we've got clematis, cherry plum, jar of red lemon, and flowers. So these are 5 flowers which can be used individually as well, but in the rescue combination you'll find equal proportions of all of these. Now impatiens, I'll talk of it individually so you understand the individual properties of the plants as well. Impatiens is a remedy that is used, now if you'll find that each of these, if you ask, normally these are available in the homeopathic store. So if you ask for a set of Bach Flower remedies, you will find these bottles, normally these kind of bottles, or even smaller ones. You also get small 10 ml kind of bottles. So, most of these guys in Princess Street, all those homeopathic pharmacies, they make whatever quantity you want. So they give you 100 ml also, they give you 10 ml also. So you'll find a box of 38 different bottles and plus rescue. That's typically the Bach Flower set. So, impatiens as a remedy is, the flower impatiens is used to heal a person who is feeling extremely impatient. Okay? Impatience in the sense of say, a person who says, why can't another person be as good as me? That kind of impatience. It's not about impatience in terms of time, not so much of that, but why can't he do it the way I do it? That sort of impatience. A person who's not willing to engage with another person, counsel, teach, but has a lot of expectations from other people, and therefore is extremely disappointed when others don't perform the way he or she expects. So, typically a boss at a workplace who has very high expectations but doesn't really guide you as much, that's impatience is normally the kind of remedy that a person would need. You would also find these kind of people in the impatience personality is the sort of a person who would prefer to be alone, work alone, doesn't want to be around with other people or work with teams, because again the impatience factor that others will never be as good, others will never understand me. Why will I spend time explaining something to someone? I might as well do it myself. Right? That's the kind of a personality that we're talking about. So typically those are the symptoms where if you see those kind of symptoms and you want to help the personality to change, right, that's when you would use impatience. So impatience, aloofness, those are typically the personality symptoms. What impatience helps to heal is it brings about a sense of trust in others, to say that, yeah, okay, if I give enough time and enough guidance, I will be able to mingle with others. I'm talking of it in a work context, but even in a personality, in any relationship context as well. Sometimes you find that in a certain relationship, you have high expectations of that person, but you never really communicate what you want. So, impatience as a remedy helps the person to slow down and communicate and tell the person that, okay, this is what I would like from you, and so let's work on getting that. So, it helps to build trust. That's where it's used. Clematis, as a flower, again, if you look at the nature of the flower, it's blooming up. Clematis is for people who like to live in an idea world. There's a lot of imagination, a lot of flights of fancy. They find real world very boring, very mundane. So there's no connect with reality. They're always talking about what could be possible, what could I have been, what I wanted to be. Right? But yeah, but then when you bring them back to reality, that no, I don't like this. Right? I don't like my reality around me.
It's a different personality.
So it's a different kind of a personality, a person who's always talking about possibilities and ideas but not really addressing reality.
Not down to earth.
Yeah, not down to earth. So you're talking about someone who's got a lot of flights of fancy, imagination, disconnect with reality. Clematis helps to ground people, bring the person back to reality and stay there and be comfortable about it and say, yeah, okay, I don't like what is around me, but now I'm willing to stay here and change it. Yeah. Yeah, and bring the person in a comfortable manner, not make the person uncomfortable with his or her own reality. So, clematis is used for grounding.
Come down on the earth.
Yeah. Also used for people who are extremely spiritual in nature, in the sense someone who will spend a lot of time in prayers and meditation or that kind of a thing, and it's very difficult to come back and be real and deal with practical things in life. Clematis helps to bring you back down and stay in the reality and deal with reality in a healthy way. So that's one utility of clematis. Cherry plum. The cherry plum personality is someone who's very scared of going over the edge, in the sense, someone who's very scared that if I do something, I might just end up harming myself.
Extra cautious.
Extra cautious, yeah, doesn't want to move out of the comfort zone, doesn't want to take risks because I don't know what's going to come. So I might as well not do anything.
No risk.
Yeah, no risk. That kind of a personality. To a degree which is really holding the person back. There are some risks you need to take. Okay? But this person doesn't want to go over the edge because he's too scared of the edge. So, someone who's very scared of the unknown, what could happen. Also people who sometimes are scared of getting addicted. Like, I will never touch alcohol because what if I take it once and then I can't stop? That kind of a thing. So this could be, yeah. So about anything, if the person will say, no, I will never have coffee because what if I get addicted? So that sense of fear of what could come next. So fear of the unknown, fear of the edge, as you would call it. Edge of anything that's unknown. Cherry plum helps the person actually leap over it and say there is no edge. It's okay, you can try, come back if you need to, it'll be okay. So in that sense, it is grounding, but in a very different way. Clematis is grounding in the reality. Cherry plum grounds you in terms of saying, yeah, it's all right to try something and get back if necessary. Don't hold back. So in that sense, cherry plum is a stabilizer largely. Very useful for people who are suicidal. Cherry plum is largely administered for someone who's depression to the degree where the person gets, people start having thoughts about, oh, agar ye nahi hua to I will jump off. That kind of a state. Cherry plum.
That is the same that we get from Malaysia. Cherry.
Cherry flower.
No, the cherry plum is a flower institution. No, we're not talking.
Cherry fruits.
Yeah.
Cherry fruit.
Yeah, right.
No, the cherry plum
yeah.
is different.
Medieval thing. It's fruit.
Yeah.
It's
Okay. Star of Bethlehem is again a white flower. It's used largely in terms of trauma and shock, where you feel all over the place. Trauma could be any kind of a trauma, either severe trauma in terms of death of somebody, loss of a relationship, or divorce, or it could be physical trauma like an accident or you've fallen down somewhere and there's that sense of shock to the body. Star of Bethlehem helps the person calm down, integrate. It kind of pulls you back. So this is largely used for trauma, shock. Integrates. So it's a nice remedy for various situations. Wherever you find a sense of nervousness, a sense of, oh my god, what's happened to me? Yeah, state of, not so much fear, but absolute shock, where there is no response at all. Fear will come once you're aware of the shock. Here it's absolutely no response. Yeah. So it's a very soothing remedy. Extremely nice remedy to have. And there is rock rose. Rock rose is rock rose is the fear remedy, where when you find a person being very panicky, very fearful. Suspicious as well, yeah. Fear, panic. You know, people who sometimes have panic attacks for no reason. That kind of fear. Or someone who's generally fear, as he says, through suspicion about, oh, I don't want to trust her because what if she goes and does this? I mean, I have no basis to think that, but I'll still probably have some imagination of saying, no, what if she doesn't? So, we're talking about what I normally term as creative fear. In the sense, you've created that fear, there's no basis for it. There's another remedy called aspen, which works on the more logical fear, fear which actually exists. Like, let's say there's actually a threat, somebody's calling you up and threatening you, about something, then there is real fear. Aspen tackles that kind of fear. Here you're talking of more of the imagined fear, the suspicion-based fear. Rock rose kind of stabilizes that fear. It makes you calm in that sense. It helps you address that fear in a good way. So, the what is called the emergency combination, or popularly called rescue remedy, is a combination of 5 of these. Now, if you have a Bach remedy set, you can use these individually for all these purposes as well. But rescue is used when you have no time to really mix and match, and if someone is, let's say, fallen down, someone's just met with an accident, or someone's come to you in a state of panic and you're not too sure of what the reason is. That's when you can administer rescue. How is it administered is, if you think there's like a physical injury, you can actually put drops of the remedy directly onto the injury. It won't really harm the person. If there is a case of burns, I would suggest mix it in water and apply it on the burn. You can apply it on the burn, but then don't directly apply because the alcohol stings. It will really hurt the person. But works beautifully with burns. It heals in a way that's almost instant. In fact, my finger the other day I burnt while cooking. The whole thing got swollen. The finger got swollen. I applied rescue on it. 2 hours, it's back. Absolutely no sting. So even if there's a mark now, absolutely nothing. I can easily touch it. I easily tie it. There's nothing. And for less than 2 hours, it was totally okay. And there was no soreness. Nothing that happened. So works beautifully with various things. Even in cases of general, simple cuts and burns and bruises, accidents. Where possible, get the person to keep sipping the water with the remedy. Otherwise, just pour the drops away. If you think the person's not conscious or can't open the mouth, just put the remedies all over the body and that should
It's edible?
Yeah, it's basically the mother tincture with alcohol. So you can have it so long as you're not drinking up about it. When I say have it, it's just a couple of drops. You're not really drinking it up. Just a couple of drops, just put it on the tongue and let the body absorb it. How it works is it basically changes the frequency that the body is in. Because of the vibration of the flower, it mixes with the body, vibration of the body, and it brings it to a state of balance. That's how the flower remedies work. So what happens in the process is the body is in a state to heal, and then the physical healing starts. What the remedies do is really enable the physical healing. They don't cause it, they bring the personality into harmony with the body, so then the body is free to heal. The premise on which Dr. Bach worked on this was to say that the body is designed to be self-healing. Our cells regenerate almost all the time, so practically every few years you have a completely new body. So therefore diseases ideally should not exist if the body is capable of self-healing. Diseases continue to exist only because somewhere the cells in the body have stopped regenerating in a manner which they should, because something in the personality blocks them. So what the flower remedies do is unblock the personality and let the body start dealing with other diseases on its own. So that's how the remedies work. So rescue is available in various forms. The most common form is these bottle kind of things. You will also find rescue pills. You will find like the kind of homeopathic pills, the white ones that you have. Similarly, you have those. You have rescue pastilles, gum, like chewing gum kind of gums with rescue in it. You find rescue cream as well. Rescue cream is a combination of this plus another remedy called crabapple. Crabapple is used for cleansing. So the rescue cream is mainly used if you have like a cut or a scratch, or even for burns you can use it, where it cleanses whatever the thing that needs to get out of the body, and it soothes the rest.
Skin allergy.
Skin allergies, yeah. Skin allergies, eczema, it's used to soothe all of those. So You find it in various forms. The bottled, the liquid version is the most popular one that you have. So, yeah, so these are largely the personality factors you should look for when you're administering the remedies. There are, if you look at the body maps, you will find physical correlations also, but in my experience with the remedies, the intuitive part works best. Look at the personality factor and then choose whatever remedy you intuitively feel at that point in time for the person or for yourself. Most cases, people who start working with remedies, even if you're administering it to someone, more often than not, they'll start telling you that I want this one. So don't debate that. The person knows the body best, so they will know which they are vibrating well with. And these can't cause harm, so you don't need to worry about it. It's just that there are some remedies which, for example, there's a remedy called agrimony, which it causes catharsis. Okay? In the sense that you come to a point of sudden healing, sudden decision, which you may not really be ready for. Or there is wild oat, which makes you take a decision. Like if you're debating between should I do this or should I not, right? Wild oat will make you take a decision at that point in time. So those remedies, be a little careful in terms of are you really ready to take it? Then ठीक है. Otherwise, don't push those remedies too early. If you feel if you or the person you're healing is okay enough to take that decision, then it's okay. Because there are certain things which sometimes need to be processed. For example, let's say a child who's kind of gone through a lot of trauma, maybe abused by somebody or something of that sort. There needs to be a certain amount of processing that needs to be done before the person can say, okay, I'm willing to let go of my past. Right? The person needs to be able to talk about it. There needs to be some sense of some amount of internal forgiveness to say, all right, let it be, I'll move on. So till that process has happened internally, you can't use something like an agrimony. Agrimony will immediately cause catharsis and say, okay, chalo, move on. But then the processing has not really happened. The emotions are still there in the body.
What is catharsis?
Catharsis is a sense of
purging of it.
overcoming, purging. What happens if for catharsis to take place, you should ideally process all the emotions involved, process whatever.
Come out of the problem.
Yeah, come out of the problem. Have whatever dialogues you need to have with
Work
people.
out the problems.
You work it out. Be logically ready to take that leap.
Make yourself free from that.
So what happens is if you take some of these remedies, they cause a catharsis before you really worked out a process, and then when you go back into that situation or come across that person again, there will be a misalignment. So some remedies you need to go a little slow on, but something like rescue or any of these is safe to take at any given point in time. So these can be very easily used.
There are also like Rescue Plus or something.
Rescue Plus is what is called the Rescue Plus Crabapple thing, which is normally in the form of a cream. So that's 5+1 remedy. That's largely used for the
That is
skin
not
level
available
soothing.
It's not available as in the liquid form.
No, Rescue Plus I've not really heard of it. It's normally the cream format. Because the utility of that is largely surface cleansing. So it's used for skin related issues. So otherwise these you can use for individually for these or use Rescue as a combination. It's actually a good idea to carry a bottle of Rescue with you in your pockets or your
Like
purse.
Ganga Jal.
Yeah, it's really useful for yourself and even for others. Sometimes you find accident on the road or something of that sort. Till the time there is first aid available, you can at least have the person calm down. I mean, there's a reason for this particular combination. If you look at the various elements that it does, whenever there is an emergency or a crisis, this helps the person calm. Staropethlum in the Rescue puts the person in a calm state. It helps the person be in a state of trust that, okay, help is arriving, I don't have to panic. I don't have to be impatient about what to do next. I can stay here and figure out what will happen. Clematis helps the person ground and not, go on a mental thing about, oh my god, what's happened to me. Rock rose alleviates all the fear that is in place. Cherry plum, if the person is in extreme panic, extreme depressive mode, it brings the person back and says it's okay, it's not so bad. So there's a reason for this particular combination. So it's a beautiful blend of remedies. And normally, even if you're mixing other remedies for various other uses, you don't mix more than 5. 5 is the max that will gel well. If you're using too many remedies, it will cause a very confused effect on the person. Again, not harmful, but then there are too many emotions that you're triggering, which is not really a good idea. So, yeah, that's that for me in terms of the content. Questions?
Thank you.